All right. Good evening. What's up, Frozen? Hope you're doing well, man. Let me know if the audio is fine. What's up, Seven? Good to see you, bro. How are we doing? How are we doing? Been waiting all weekend for this. All right, man. That's good to know. It's good to know. I'll promise to make a good one for you. That developing yearly held like a champ. Kindly sad that we didn't get pushed into previous month value. Yeah, I mean, but the long setup there was really clean, and I actually wanted to go over. So for those of you guys that are from Discord, I'm gonna go over this long setup here from the lows because I mean, it was really clean here, like that push lower on Sunday, then a back move back within previous week value, and I honestly think that, like, I'll be honest, like, this is looking pretty good on Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at ETH here real quick, look, that sweep, right? And I think the most important part here is actually the rolling VWAPs here, the yearly rolling VWAP. If we can close strong, we could even be setting up for a move higher. But let's break everything down during the stream, and then we can see what we can expect going into next week. One thing that we should be grateful for is the volatility that we have, right? Because it's been some pretty solid moves over these past couple of days. Ethereum is good, right? And I mean, Bitcoin is looking okay as well. And the levels are working like a charm. So that's basically what we want to see. So without further ado, what is up, everybody? I'm moving back towards the dashboard that we have on the website, primetrading.ai. Welcome back to the live session, everybody. As you know, the streams are sponsored by Bybit. Now, if you want to have access to the indicators, the high volume bars, the VWAPs, the Discord, stuff like that, all you have to do is select an account on the website. It is sponsored by Bybit, so if you want to join through our referral link, you can simply click Join Bybit. You can select the exchange. You can choose, right, whether it's Bybit or Blowfin. You can connect your exchange user ID, select Connect, and then the moment you start to trade around 500k total volume will grant you access to the Discord and the indicator. So I think that should be doable on a monthly basis. With that being said, welcome to the stream. We're going to be diving in. We're going to be breaking things down based on VWAP, TPO, and we're going to be doing some trade reviews as well from this long in particular, and what I'll be looking at going into next week. So first things first, right? Today, December 7th, TPO tick size for me remains 65. Recent developments in terms of longer term VWAPs. We're going to be covering the yearly, quarterly, monthly, and the weekly. Let's go over them together. First things first on the yearly. Let me get this into a bigger screen. Like that. We've got yearly value. And this setup here was, super clean, right? We accepted back within developing year value right here. We then got the backside right there for a full reversion back towards the developing year value area low. We accepted below the developing year value low. What's the likely destination? It is going to be previous year value high, which is this dashed line around 80k. If Bitcoin heading into next year sweeps the low and closes above it on a weekly basis, I think the low is in, and we could be expecting a move back into 100k. Make no mistake, depending on where Bitcoin is trading heading into next year, this upcoming previous year value will be like that, right? The upcoming previous year value with the upcoming previous year VWAP. So if anything, this is going to be the most important structure that we can have within some bigger high time frame swings. So if we were to sweep the lows and then reclaim it, right, it's a potential good long for a move back into VWAP. If we were to reject that VWAP and then close back below, we can look for potential shorts back into the low. So we're just simply going to be trading this on the higher time frames, okay? So the yearly is actually looking good. We're sweeping the lows into the developing year value area low, holding up so far. We're getting a nice expansion upwards. I just don't like that it's Sunday, right? Sunday's moves are typically not the ones that you want to go with when trading. If we're taking a look at the quarterly here, I would argue that the quarterly developing value area low, which is this line right here, has been capping upside since this first attempt. This one failed as well because we had confluence with the 30 rolling VWAP. I'll show you that in a bit. We then accepted below, right? A bit of time and space, and now we're back at it. So it's going to be make it or break it for Bitcoin. If we can accept back within, I think I'll have my eyes on the quarter 2 VWAP, which is around 96. If not, I think a rotation back to the quarter 2 value low is on the cards. To make it simple, all we're really doing is we are rotational between 96k and 86k-ish, okay, on the quarterly. Moving towards the monthly. Super clean, right? This is where we base majority of the trade-off. Well, at least this sweep for today, where we had this really tight compression, right, during this weekend. Super tight compression. Then we get the typical scam push away from value. We take out a bunch of lows. We're front running previous month value low. Now, I actually want to go over the long trade that occurred within this setup there and the target and the destination, because I think it is really important. Now, let's move towards that long setup quickly before we take a look at the weekly. So if we're taking a look at this chart, for the guys that in Discord, this is what we were talking about the other day about, you know, entering these longs based on the mousetrap setups, right? Based on these failed auctions back below the lows. So if we're taking a look at this chart right here, let me zoom in. My PC is not liking this at all. But if we're zooming this out like a bit, we can see that we were trading lower, right? We were taking out a previous low. Now, one of the things that we always talk about is that we need to see a mousetrap setup, right? I need to see an initial low being formed, because that means there's going to be pending stop orders below that low from people that initially took a long there. And there's going to be breakout traders watching that low thinking, well, if we break below the low, I'm going to be breakdown shorting this because we're for sure going to go lower, right? This line is actually an old composite value area high. It's also confluent with a session single print. I will show you that later on. But all in all, it was confluent with that sweep that we were discussing for potential long. Now, is this the picture perfect mousetrap setup? No, it's not, because we're sweeping the lows and we don't have the typical B-shaped profile, right? Where we get like a thin move lower, huge increase in volume, and we close at the highs. We didn't get that. But as we were discussing last week within Discord, if there's a large anomaly within volume and we see that there's a large amount of aggression going into the lows, all we need to do here is wait. We need to wait for that shift back above where majority of the sell delta came into the market, and that's here. And that's where we get into these longs, right? And you would have got a long around 87,950, and we're now trading at, let me go back towards this chart, 87,950 with a stop below the low. And that would have resulted in 87,950, right? Something like that. Now, this is this is just a weird example because of, you know, this wasn't as deep as the sweep on Coinbase, but you get the point, right? We don't always have to be waiting for the picture perfect mousetrap setup. This is exactly what you want to see heading into a level. People are getting too comfortable in getting short. We're trading at a contextual level, and then boom, they're getting blown the fuck out, right? That's what we want to see. So let's reset this. Let's go back and let's finish off on VWAP. But now, do let me know if there are any further questions regarding that setup that I've just posted. I will make sure to cover that at the end of the stream. But VWAP, go back. Let's close off the monthly. And we're now back at the weekly. So as we've been doing from the past couple of weeks, I'm going to be putting a lot of emphasis on previous week value. The trade that we took on last Friday was basically this shift back within previous week value. Got the backside entry there, right, for that rotation lower into previous week VWAP. Super clean trade. Then we got the deviation. Hell, you could even long this reclaim right there at previous week VWAP for a move back into that previous week value high. So this is essentially to show you how well previous week value is working within the current rotations, okay? Now, the new previous week value will be from 92.4-ish. Then we'll have new previous week VWAP around 89.6. And we will have previous week value low around 87.2. We can already see that there's value overlap within the current developing value and previous week value. I will be merging the weeks together based on TPO. So I'll get there in a moment. But so far, I think majority of our trades heading into next week should be based around the upcoming previous week value, as acceptance above previous week value high, in my opinion, is a clear long towards some upside targets, right? If we take out the highs and then we close back within, that's a failed auction away from previous week value, and we could trade it back towards previous week VWAP. This right now, for everybody that is long from the current lows, you do not want to see acceptance below the weekly VWAP, right? This is now the short-term bullish line in a sense. So that being said, let me write everything out because we've covered a lot. Let's go back towards the prep here. The yearly, we have acceptance. No, we had a failed break below developing year value area low, right? We're back at it. If we're taking a look at the quarterly, we are rotational within lower half quarter two value. Take a look at the monthly, we are rotational within lower half previous month value. And then on the weekly, rotational within, we had a failed break below previous week VWAP, move towards previous week value high. Upcoming previous week value will be important. What's up, Dave? Hope you're doing well, man. Good to see you. All right. So that being said, rolling VWAP. Don't worry, guys. I will go over all the questions after the stream. Let's first do the prep. So rolling VWAP, 7 days. What do we have? Let's take a look at a regular chart. Let's get rid of all of the drawings. Let's get rid of the high volume bar. Rolling VWAPs. Remove everything here. So right here, we've got the 30-day rolling VWAP above us. That 30-day rolling VWAP. Let's take a look at the weekly real quick. Where's the weekly? Right here. All right. So the upcoming developing week or the upcoming previous week value will be confluent with the 30-day rolling VWAP. If this is the range, right, and we tag into this and then get back below, I think that's a bearish setup for a move back into 86.5. Okay. Acceptance above previous week value high that we'll have tomorrow indicates that we're also trading above the 30 rolling VWAP. But look what happened right here. The 30 rolling VWAP was the cap on upside during the previous attempts. Okay, super important level. So 30 rolling VWAP confluent with developing week value high. 7-day rolling VWAP is confluent with the upcoming previous week VWAP. This is now the short-term bullish line in the sand, especially after taking out these lows on an increase in sell delta, right? We see initiative activity here pick up, and then we blow away right there back into the previous week value high here. I would even argue that it's not super important right now, but if we're taking a look at the daily, Bitcoin can go up towards 100K and still be bearish. Don't forget about that, right? Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will be super bullish here, but then the real test will be at 100K. If I'll show you guys, look, the previous times that we accepted below the yearly rolling VWAP, that was here. And then we did all of this, and then we still weren't able to accept above, and then we got the bear market from 1 year, okay? So don't neglect the yearly rolling VWAP, because that's going to be the make it or break it for Bitcoin. The moment we find time and space above, that's when the party starts again, okay? That's when we can really become bullish and look for higher prices. But until then, we can simply trade these rotations, but don't lose this. Don't lose the bigger picture, right? And because we're still trading below. All right. So back here, 7-day, short-term bullish, short-term bull line in the sand, confluent with upcoming previous week VWAP. 30-day, confluent with upcoming previous week value high. 9-day, not using that. 365-day remains high time frame bear line in the sand. All right. TPO. What has developed during the past couple of days? Is there anything that we can use for actionable insights? I want to go over the weekly composite. I want to go over the current 2-day composite and the session profile here. Now, if we're taking a look at this, I would argue that we have a current 3-week of overlapping value, right? The value area is this. We had 1 week, 2 weeks. And if I were to merge this week within the previous week and expand this one here, we can see that the moment we accepted back within that 2-week composite, the line was here at the time, right? We accepted back within. We went for the full rotation towards the 2-week value, which we were not able to accept above. We then left the gap here, and that's exactly what we've been filling in during these past couple of days, right? It's like the Tetris game, right? We're just filling in the inefficiencies here. We could also state here that if we were to reset all of these TPOs, that we have a 3-week value coming up. tomorrow, if this weekly value closes like that, now I'm not expecting this to be an insane move away with a lot of value being above this current 2-week value. That means this to me is going to be a 3-week composite, meaning whatever we do, 93.730 is going to be big as resistance. Okay. Point of control is going to be in the area of interest to me. Value area low is going to be in the area of interest to me, right? So when we open up within this 3-week composite tomorrow, this is the higher time frame range. Okay. Don't forget about that. So we have marked that out. Now, what else? We also have a potential 3-day composite. Is this 3-day composite going to be super important for me? If I were to reset this, right? Reset all TPOs. This right here was an inside day, so we can merge that together to get a 2-day composite. And then this, right? We're now going to be trading. I think we're probably going to be filling in this single print here. But short term, what you want to see is you want to see the 2-day composite value high holder support. If we can cap this downside here, I can expect to move back upwards into the most recent 2-day composite, right? Well, not the most recent, but the one that we broke away from. So the range basically becomes between these two pivots here. But yeah, it's still good to see that we're trying to break away from value. If we fail to hold as a support, we're back to being a rotational environment. Okay. So let's get that out of the way. And then we get the session profiles. So super clean interaction here, where we had this compression here. We had a single print below this low. We cleaned up the single print, closed back above the key level here, right? We got long. What's the target? It's the naked point of control here. Anomaly. We are now trading above. What's the next target? To fill in this single print here, right? So again, I'm not basing any trades purely on session profile. It just helps me navigate the current markets where I'm like, okay, you know what? We're just sweeping this low. We're long, right? Based on VWAP, based on order flow that we've been talking about at the beginning of the stream. The setup was really clean. We have been targeting this, right? That's why I said in Discord, if you got long there, we're now out 70% of the trade. Stops flat and let it rip. Let's see how high we can go, okay? Right, let's write everything out. Right here, TPO. We have a 2-week value high that has been capping upside. Upside. Potential 3-week composite value area. We swept session, single prints, and cleaned up naked point of control afterwards. Potential acceptance above 2-day composite value high. That needs to hold, right? Short-term bullish line in the sand. Right. So let's summarize everything. We had short term, a longer term, right? High time frame. There will be a new previous year value, which will be the most important value going into 2026. Until then, my main focus for this week will be around the Q2 value and upcoming previous week value. If Bitcoin is genuinely bullish, we need to see a close above previous week value high for a potential move higher into at least the 3-week value area high, right? Because that's the bracket that we're trading within higher time frame is that 3-week composite. Failure to break above the upcoming previous week value high, confluent with, right, 30-day rolling VWAP, and I will look for shorts targeting the 3-week value area low. Let me take a look at a regular chart here. Let's get all of the drawings back in. Hourly, reset chart view, right? So we're now sweeping this high. We're sweeping the high. Let's take a quick peek here. All right, so keep an eye on the 2-day composite. 2-day composite 91,130, 91,130, 91,130, yeah. So if we fail to hold this as support, I think we can, fill in some of these single prints below. This is now going to be the super short-term bullish line in the sand on Bitcoin. But ultimately, heading into next week, let me get the rolling VWAPs in as well. The narrative that I want to build my trades around, right now, this was a super clean trade, right? From a ranging perspective, from high to low, low to high. From an auction perspective, failed auction below this low, trap sellers at the lows. We reclaim it, right? If you were taking a look at a high volume bar, 30-minute time frame, we formed a high volume bar here with a point of control, right? We close this candle above. This is just your no-brainer bread and butter trade. Get long, stop below the low, and we're targeting some of these highs. The thesis for me this week is I will let this settle here, right? And I want to see if we can get up here and take out some of these highs and then close back below the 30-day rolling VWAP. I'll want to be trading this range from that previous week value high up until that previous week VWAP. If we can find acceptance above this level here, the previous week value high, I will go with that break from value. And I'm going to be targeting this 3-week composite value high. Ultimately, if Bitcoin manages to accept above the 3-week value area high, I think it's game on for a move back into 96.4K. Like that's probably going to be the cap on upside for me, where I think Bitcoin isn't really going to be going higher than that. Is there anything that I want to take alongside that? Well, I would even argue, let me take a look at VWAP real quick. Like developing your value looks good. Right here, we're now running into resistance. So if there's going to be a cap on upside, I expect it to be here. I will fine tune this level based on previous week value, which means if we're going to be sweeping these highs and rejecting, I will look for shorts for a move back into VWAP. The monthly, we slightly front run previous month value low, but this was actually the long that I was hoping to take for a move back into VWAP, right? So I don't know. It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. And the confirmation is when we can trade above previous week VWAP, right? Previous week value high, my bad. If we can, we're trading back towards VWAP. If we lose VWAP as support, I will take shorts and I'm targeting this cluster there, okay? So to summarize it once more for everybody, the trades that I'm looking for heading into next week are basically trading this current range from the previous week value towards previous week VWAP. If Bitcoin is not able to accept above, rejects, forms a bearish structure, I will take a short for a move back into the VWAP. Conversely, if we retest VWAP and we're not able to break below, I'll look for longs for a move back up. Above is bullish, below is bearish. Is that clear for everybody? A short-term bullish line in the sand here. Hypos narrative I just discussed. The bullish line in the sand here is not the 2-week value high. I need to remove this. It is the short-term 3-week. No, short-term, I would even argue that it's going to be the previous week VWAP confluent with 7-day rolling VWAP. Long-term, obviously, previous year value area high. The bearish line in the sand. Short-term, previous week value high. Confluent with 30-day rolling VWAP. Long-term 3-week value area high. Value area high, like that. All right. Is that clear for everybody? And let me catch up on the questions. Let me catch up on the chat real quick. He was waiting for the naked point of control lower. Well, you know, sometimes you just got to go with it. If you could only decide for either only VWAP or TPO, which would you choose? VWAP all day. I would choose VWAP over TPO. Because I think that building a narrative based on a 4-tile layout with VWAP like this is easy for me, right? And you can just trade weekly values for your short-term rotations and then the monthly and the quarterly for the longer terms and build your yearly basis or bias on yearly value. What about the 14-week composite and 8-week? Well, those are older composites. We now have newer values to work with, right? So you don't have to have, otherwise I'm having a million levels on my chart. So that is why every week when I'm doing these preps, I delete the entire chart and I build it up from scratch. And I can highly recommend that for everybody because it helps, right? It helps keeping everything relevant. Otherwise, you know, I don't want a chart that looks like this, right? Like, what am I trading? Which level? No, I don't want that. Needs to be clean. Is there a world where we don't merge Saturday with Friday into 2-day composite and only use Friday value and value low because Saturday has likes that? Yes. Yes, there is definitely a world. And it's the one that I'm living in. Because I usually don't really merge anything without a lack of volume, right? So, and this is where the upcoming 3-day composite is cute, right? We could use that, but we've got better structure. What is the better structure? Going to be this, the upcoming previous week value high there. Right there, right? Around 92.480. That's going to be the level that I want to focus on. Share your extra template. That's only for the Discord. And this template isn't currently available for the public yet. It's because we're working on this until a future release. And when it is public, obviously it will be shared within Discord. Anything else? Are we all clear on the Bitcoin prep? Think so, right? Pretty straightforward. I mean, that would be something, right? If we take it out towards their yearly review up here, 100K. Hourly. Can we combine where we only take view up yearly, quarterly, TPO, weekly, daily? Yes, that's what I'm currently doing, right, Kevin? Like that's what we're doing within the prep. We're using all time frames and then combine it with TPO. That is why I have on this chart a 3-week value high. We can even remove this chart, this line. The higher time frame range that we're trading within right now is this. This right here. A 3-week composite. Acceptance above is super bullish. And then could we argue that this is a range here? 2-hour chart? Nah, I'm keeping this as an hourly range. So yeah, I'm definitely using that as well. 3-week value. And then I combine it with VWAP. Is there any lifetime price for your Discord? No, man, I don't have that. And to be honest, the price is already relatively like if you want to get a yearly sub, it's like I always forget how much it is. Let me calculate. Like the yearly is 900, right? Calculate this. 900 divided by 12. That's 75 a month. The reason why I'm not doing lifetime subs is because I don't know what's happening, right? Let's say that I don't know. I get something, right? I get ill or whatever, and you just paid for a lifetime subscription. Like, that's fucked up, right? That's why I'm not doing lifetime subs. Yeah, Ethereum looks good, right? Ethereum looks good. Let's take a quick peek here. Like, I think ETH, look at that, to the tick, bro. If we're taking a look here, if we quickly take a breakdown here on ETH, like we're trying to reclaim previous year value. Do I have all the values on my chart on ETH? We got short from the highs there. Look at that. Previous month very low. To the tick, man. Damn. Previous year VWAP. If anything, I think on Ethereum, if we quickly break this down, the yearly has kind of been bracketing through previous year VWAP. So it's not a huge... I'm aware of it, but... it needs to hold if we're close above, right? The quarterly, this destination, we got all of these highs here. So to me, it kind of makes sense to tag into 3,300, especially after this H12. We still have 5 hours left, but this is a good looking H12 close, right? After sweeping the lows. We did something similar there. So I think if we can get a strong H12 close, you want to be looking at the lower time frames. And let's say that at that point in time, we are still hovering here, right, at the upcoming previous week value high, and we get a pullback into previous year VWAP, it's the one that you want to be buying into, in my opinion. Let's go towards this chart. Daily. Range high towards range low. H12. Yes, it's a gnarly candle, right? But right here, I would argue that if the drawn liquidity is above all of those highs on the left, and we're going to go towards previous quarterly value area low, I don't want to see a picture perfect pullback. There doesn't need to be a reason for people to get into these trades, right? Because there's going to be a whole lot of people offside now. We tag into this low to the tick at the previous month value area low, right? To get long. Bullish breaking structure on the hourly here. If we can get like something along these lines where I think if we get a strong H12 close and then we get like bullish structure on the hourly, it's one that you want to go with. Invalidation below the low. And we're targeting all of these highs into the previous quarterly value low, right? Bullish invalidation is acceptance below, in my opinion, at which I think we can, we're going to be trading lower. So yeah, ETH looks good. I just don't like the fact that it's on a Sunday. Because usually these Sunday pushes are getting, faded. But we'll see. The real test will be at the previous week value high. Do you consider any long if we reclaim the yearly open? The yearly open, where's that? 93k-ish? I don't put a lot of emphasis on the yearly open, to be honest. Where is it? 12 months. There is some confluence with it, I assume. Let me add this. Let's see if we have some overlap. 93. So we got the yearly open at 93. I'm fine-tuning it towards a 3-week value high. Do you see that? Better. Yearly open is, I mean, it's still good, but I'm fine-tuning it towards the 3-week value high here. So if we reclaim that, it's what I said, right? Acceptance above the 3-week. We're going to be going towards quarter 2. I had 29 as my level, but didn't have the balls to take it since it's Sunday. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If it's setting up, like I'll have my alerts on my levels, and if it's setting up on a Sunday, I'll just take it if I happen to be around the desk, right? Because I got a family, got 2 kids. I mean, right? I think it's good to be away from the desk from time to time, and that's usually on a Sunday for me. We're now filling in the singles. No real access at the high yet, so I don't think that we're done. Short term, you just don't want to see this break back below the current 2-day compulsive value high there, right? Because that means, look, based on VWAP, we're now trading at an extreme. If we're breaking this, we're also breaking structure, at which I think we're filling in some singles. So this definitely needs to hold. Like that. Why are you not merging weekly VWAP as well? And how do you determine whether you will be looking at TPO merge or VWAP merge? Asking because we merged 2 week on VWAP a couple of weeks ago. Personal preference. Like within Discord, I often look at those values as well. I don't want to get too complicated during these streams on YouTube. That's why. I don't want to have like a million levels on the chart and be like, hey guys, here's 50 levels. Go and trade it, right? So that's why sometimes I decide to keep it a bit more simplistic. If you trade TradFi, do you still use the same framework? Yes. This works even better. For TradFi, for equities, let's take a look at NQ. Right? For example, right here, right? The actual low. Right here. This is developing your value, previous quarterly value high. Right there. Like it's even cleaner, to be honest. I like it. Hype. Oof, hype is looking shit, bro. I was thinking that we might get front run there, but it came back. Damn. Hype. That's some generational weakness. Basically do or die. So hype is now trading back below yearly VWAP. That's not something that I like to see. We are, however, trading at quarter 2 VWAP. It's sweeping here. I think displacement above 12 hour. All right, let's take a look at the chart. Where are all of my levels on hype? What's this, bro? Remove. Quarterly. Let's quickly run it down. Let's use a 2-hour time frame for this. I'm gonna be calling this quarter 2 VWAP. Yep. Then we've got the previous. This is quarter 2 value high. Is this quarter 2 value high? Around 38. Yep. Quarter 2 value high. All right. And then what else do we have? The monthly, nasty reaction there of the monthly, super clean. The weekly. All right. Do I want to have the weekly on my chart? Let's take a look at the rolling view ups as well. 7-day, 30-day. Front run that. It's a shame that we didn't go all the way towards quarter 2 value high there. But let's take a look. Developing week. Upcoming previous week value low. I'm not saying I'm going to be putting a trade based on previous week value for a shitcoin, but let's take a look. Daily. Nothing. 12 hour. So if the 12 hour here closes within 5.5 hour, right? Because right now we got like 1 sweep, 2 sweep, and then we got 3 sweeps here. No, we already took out that low. But we got a double sweep here. Preferably, this closes above on the H12 after coming off the quarter 2 VWAP. Let's take a look at the hourly chart. If the hourly can show me that it is able to trade back above this prior high after taking out these lows, right? I think it's a good long for potential move into choose. Do we have any overlap with value there? Previous week, developing week VWAP. So potentially the upcoming previous week value highs here. Developing week, okay. So previous week value high, like that. Get rid of this real quick. All right, and then we compare it off. Look, 4.5 to quarter 2 value, okay. But still, we have a lot of time to be, for this to come to fruition. Higher time frame. If we get a close above here, like that's, in my opinion, confirmation that lows is in. And we probably go towards quarter 2 value high there. Right here. But, for this to play out, we need Bitcoin and Ethereum to behave. Because, make no mistake, these shitcoins are just higher beta compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this is actually a bit worrisome where, hype is showing extreme weakness here compared to Bitcoin and ETH. BTC, how are we looking on the order flow side of things? All right, not much. But yeah, the thesis still stands here. We finally got the sweep. Now we need to wait for an H12 close, and then it needs to show me the displacement higher for me to become bullish. Now that's not like a regular hourly candle, right? It's confluent with previous week value low. So do something like that. Clear drawn liquidity, back into structure. Yeah, like it. No, hype is not off the table. Like, you just need to be waiting because everything can shift, right? In a moment of time. Like when this catches a bit, everybody's jumping in. But this is looking like BTC. We do not want to see this trade below here. Because if we are trading below there, we just took out this high into the gap. We trade back below this. This is the previous week value high from the current previous week. That's a failed auction above value. At that point, I think we are revisiting this. And look, and this is often how things are working together with each other, right? Because we've got the previous week value high here. If we're taking a look at extra charts, that is that 2.5 day or that 2-day composite from this value right there. Right there. All right. How would you personally manage a trade if you bought the bottom since it's Sunday? I would have closed, like I said in the beginning of the stream. For me, the long setup was below that low, right? When I said, if I go back to our texture charts real quick, let me see if it can show you guys without messing up my PC. Need to implement the new one, but. So the trigger for me to get long was purely based on this. Mousetrap setup into the composite right there after sweeping the lows. Huge amount of sellers heading into the lows, driving that initiate lower, right? We then close back above. Initiative activity here by the buyers. I'm getting long in validation below the low. So an average entry of 87,950. My target would have been 70% out right there. Or slightly front running it right there. 70% closing the trade. Stops flat right here. And I'm going to be waiting. If we do something along these lines, let's say that you're long. What you want to see right now is this. You don't have to get overly cute with your management, right? You just need to see this hold of support. Preferably, we just do this and then go back up, right? A new invalidation would be when there's a new shift in condition. And to me, that's when we're trading above previous week value high. So if Bitcoin can do something like that, form a protective low, like sweep it, I'm trailing my stops towards that low and I'm targeting that. I just think that too many people are focusing on getting one trade and try to capture this entire move. Whilst I think, if you can just take this, if you get a nice move on a Sunday, close it out. Who cares if we go up from this? You can get long here, right? Or if we fail to hold this and we start to trade back below, you can look for potential shorts back there and just continue to compound these little trades. I think that's, everybody has their own preference with trading, of course, but it's really, really tricky to get lured into the mindset of, I need to hit a home run. Whilst if you just compound these lower time frame trades, you'll be there as well. So no need for a home run. 94.1 right here. TPO tick size here is at 45 because I was looking at Ethereum earlier today. It should be at 65 as per the prep. It should be at 65. You spotted that nicely. Like that. No particular reason. Should have been at 65. Thank you for that. Thank you. I see what I'm doing wrong now. Much appreciated. Oh, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. How do you determine when it's too late to enter the trade? Well, basically, when you're asking if it's too late to enter a trade, probably too late, bro. I think doing a prep like we're currently doing, the main reason is not because I want to be flashy or be like, hey guys, look at me. I can have a prep in a Notion. Who gives a shit, right? But it's like, I'm doing this summary and I'm basing my trades off what I'm looking at right now. So I know now that tomorrow when I wake up, I want to be a buyer at my level. So for example, if my bias was getting long below the lows and I see that we're trading up here, does it make sense when my target is this high, right? The setup that I wrote down within my pre-market prep is get long on a filled auction below the lows. If we reclaim that level, I want to be targeting the pending liquidity there into the current previous week, because the current previous week value high is here, right? It's there. It's not up here. That's the next one because it's the developing week here, right? So the trade that I was looking at was this, where it's like, okay, you know what? That's the low. I'm targeting previous week value high. It's a 5-hour trade for me. Super nice trade, okay? Especially on a fucking Sunday. However, if we're now trading all the way up here and I cannot get a 2-hour trade out of this anymore, it's too far away from me. Like, I will never take a trade like this. Never. It will always have to be like at least a 2-hour trade. The trade, for example, last week, I missed out on this initial push lower. Right here. We were bullish around the quarter 2 value area low. But what I needed to see here is that, whoops, we got that tree drive right there into the quarter 2 value low, right? Then we got the displacement higher above this high. I wanted to see a pullback to get long because right here, entering here with my stop below the low and a TP somewhere here, it was like a 1.5 hour trade. Like I'm not doing that, right? It's not good enough for me, especially if it's not an A plus trade. So I missed out on this. But then this setup came to fruition where we had like a shift above that prior week value high. My invalidation was here and I was targeting the highs. So, you know, I made up for that because this was, what was it? Long there. Whoops. And I had to stop there. We're targeting this. I think something along these lines. So that's a 4-hour trade for me compared to a 1-hour, right? So if it doesn't matches that criteria, I'll just wait. And yeah, it sucks, man. I see, because everybody on Twitter seems to be long all the time and capturing these moves, and I didn't. But I caught this, then we caught a short, and then we caught this short. So it still was a pretty solid week, but it needs to be at least 2R. Make sense? Of course, man. It's my pleasure. So try and capture 2R at least for these trades to come, you know, to play out. And I saw a post from Tom Dante the other day. Like he said something along those lines. I continue saying this, but it's just so well worded because he said, I just don't want to take a trade because I know that if I'm actively looking for a trade and it's not there, I'll be taking a shit trade nonetheless, right? So the goal should be to just wait until it's screaming at you, just like, yo, this is a trade, bro. Take me, right? And then you'll take the trade. Would you use the high volume bars, your line in the sand along from the bottom? No. On my line in the sand, like short-term line in the sand here, could be where, you know, if we have a high volume bar there, right? Let's say that we got a high volume bar here, like that. And it's confluent. I will always look for some line of confluence with a structural level, right? Prior week value, developing day value, something like that, those lines, right? But think about it from a positioning standpoint. If there's a lot of people that bought into this candle, we need to see that cap downside right here, right? Because if we start to trade below their entry, then we can expect them to puke their position, which will cause a flush into the single prints. Bullion from Casper Crew? Nah, bro. I don't know him. What about him? Never heard about him, to be honest. He a good one? Like, it's a short term. Like, it's not a line in the sand for me. It's the conviction behind the move, right? Because we want to see these guys, right? This is, if I'm seeing this in real time, I'm like, oh yeah, man, that's good. I like that. Because I know these guys, if they can't really push through with it and they get offside, they're sweating their balls off right here, right? And then if they don't actively close themselves, which will result in buy pressure, right? Someone will do it for them and then they get liquidated. So either way, we're gonna go up. All right. So that's a wrap. Thank you all for if you guys like, I can do some updates this week, but the reason why I didn't do them last week, my apologies for that, because I know I said it, but it's December for me and it's always time with the kids, man. Like, I got 2 young kids. Like, December is for me, it's family time. So I try to not be as much behind the desk and just enjoy this time away and then go balls to the walls again on January. But I'll do my best to do like a midweek update maybe on Wednesday, something along those lines, so we can follow along with the prep that we've just outlined and then do some updates. I think that would be a nice midpoint for everybody. So, all right. Thank you all so much for attending the stream today. If you do want to support me, subscribe to the channel. I'm still aiming for 10K subs at the end of the year. Don't think that it's possible anymore, but hey, you know what? Who knows, right? If you want to have access to everything that I've just used, you can use the dashboard within Prime Trading. Sign up on my referral link on Bybit. If you're not able to use Bybit, you can choose Blowfin, whatever you prefer. And I will see you guys within the next one. Take care. Have a fantastic Sunday. And appreciate you all. Take care, man.